It's November 13th, 2007. Flock to the stores, people, because the new Jenga game on the Nintendo DS has hit the shelves. Try and think of the worst possible idea for a video game. Whatever you thought of, is it worse than the idea of taking Jenga, a game built solely on the idea that the blocks of wood exist and are interacted with in the real world with your real hands, and making an awful DS game out of it that fails on every level? I can't think of a worse idea for a game. I'm racking my brain for it, but this might be it. Unsurprisingly, Jenga World Tour is one of the lowest rated games of all time. And of course, you know what that means. I had to play it. Why I continue to take this lonely path of venturing into games that I know will cause me pain is a mystery. Actually, no, it's not a mystery. I need to make content for this YouTube channel, and you all seem to enjoy it more the worse the game is, so strap in and wish me luck. This is Jenga World Tour on the DS.
Proceed.
The opening menu screen is inspiring to say the least. The blue background with the word Jenga repeatedly really gets me in the mood for some hype as Jenga to go down. The first thing we do when we enter is choose a character icon. There's a limited range of grotesque options to choose from. My favorites include a man trying to contort himself into a hate symbol, a slot machine holding a gun, and whatever the this thing is supposed to be. I'm a fairly normal person. I don't want to look at anything too hideous my entire time playing the game. So I opted to play as the fish who is on the train witnessing a crime, but would rather just let it play out than get involved. Are you ready to face the Jenga challenge?
I was born ready, motherfucker.
We play our first game of Jenga in an empty, eerie room with all of the blinds closed. The game seems to assume that you already know the rules of Jenga because it doesn't explain a single thing about how to play. It also seems to assume that you know all of the controls and video game mechanics because it doesn't explain any of that either. It is fairly straightforward though. You rotate and go up and down around the tower, select a block of wood, and then drag it with the stylus in any direction to remove it from the tower, before choosing one of 3 positions to place it on top.
Simples.
My first opponent is this guy. I'm grateful they didn't bother to animate our characters in the game world because I feel as though the sight of this monstrosity in such a strange, haunting room would unlock buried memories for me that I'd rather remain buried. So I remove a couple of blocks and place them on top. Eventually, my opponent was pulling their blocks out of the stack when the tower collapsed, so I won. Level 2 is set close to 200 years in the future on the moon, and our opponent is an alien. Defeat this space invader to become the ultimate Jenga master. This doesn't feel like it should be the second game of Jenga in the whole thing. We've gone straight from the beginner level to defeating a spacefaring alien to become the master.
Alrighty then.
Anyway, it's the same Jenga gameplay of pulling out blocks and placing them on top. It doesn't take long for the alien to somehow make the tower fall, and once again, I'm victorious. But I suppose I'm not the ultimate Jenga master yet, because that's not the end of the game. Next, we play against a penguin on a mountaintop. Once again, the penguin is the first to make an error and topple the tower. When the tower topples, all of the pieces float as though the world map is a tabletop. You know full well when they were making the game, they saw this and spent about 5 seconds to come to the conclusion, we'll just leave it, no one will care. It might be cooler if the pieces actually fall, but f it, I can't be bothered. I want to go home and have a pizza and watch the game.
My work here is done.
Now we're in medieval times and there's catapults hurling projectiles at the tower. It's unclear what impact this has on the gameplay, but at one stage while I was pulling out a piece, the tower collapsed. This was my first time being on the losing end of it, and it's safe to say it left me in a harrowing state of shock. Just kidding, it's Jenga on the DS. Seriously, we're all thinking it, but just how does this make any sense as a video game? There is only tension in a real game of Jenga because first off, you're playing against your friends and not whatever the hell this thing is. But second off, the wooden blocks exist and fall in the real world. It's the tension of trying to keep the tower up standing while interacting with it with your real hands. In this game, you just keep sliding out pieces until eventually the tower just goes bang and collapses all at once.
What's the point.
As much as I've made it clear the whole idea is terrible, I guess I can see a world where if each block has its own physics and they interact realistically with each other, it could theoretically work as a functioning virtual game of Jenga. I don't think it would be fun, but it'd be something. This, though, the physics make no sense. Sometimes the tower is standing in a way that is physically impossible. Like, look at this one. It's gone off the edge, but it's still standing. And then the game just decides, okay, now it's gonna collapse. It, why not? That's the problem with it being a game, is it's always going to feel like the game's deciding for you when the tower falls. In the real world, you can't blame anyone but yourself because you interact with the wood and it topples. After the medieval one, I beat a pterodactyl in a dinosaur-themed level set millions of years ago, a shark in an ocean-themed level, a ball of magma with a hat and some flowers inside an active volcano. This one looks kind of cool until you realize you actually have to tell apart all the pieces to pull them out. That's another thing this game does horribly, is the pieces look terrible. And while you can usually tell them apart, it's an absolute eyesore to do so, and it makes the whole experience that bit more tedious. Parts of the tower really do just look like a cluster of textures.
Who's making these? It's someone's job to knock these up.
After the magma ball in the volcano opponent, we go to China in the year 785, where our opponent is another dinosaur. I feel like I'm losing my mind and someone's gonna correct me and tell me this is actually something that exists in China. If that's the case, please do feel free to tell me, but I'm pretty sure it's just a dinosaur. Anyway, this was the point in the game where I gave up, because I lost 4 times in a row, and the games were now going for longer as the opponents weren't toppling the tower so early. Which brings us to another problem with the game, is the first couple of minutes of every game of Jenga, nothing is happening. The tower's stable, the pieces are easy to remove, and there's no chance it's gonna fall. At least in the real world, there's always the small chance someone will slip or anything can happen. But in the video game, you really are just waiting for those first 10 or so blocks to be placed until the game reaches the stage where risk is introduced. In a game where all you do is play Jenga back to back, that's a huge problem. It's effectively a 3-minute loading screen at the start of every game.
Disgusting.
You can also play multiplayer with your friends, and this got me thinking, I wonder if the scenario has ever happened where 2 people were playing the DS version of Jenga together, while in the cupboard in their house, a real-life Jenga set was sitting untouched. I want to believe this never happened. I want to believe the probability is low because hopefully barely anyone bought this game when it came out. This thing, Jenga World Tour on the Nintendo DS, is one of the worst ideas for a game there's ever been, and it wasn't executed much better. That said, all of these character icons have actually grown on me the more I see them. I'm now kind of a fan of them, and know if I played a different, more fun game as a kid with these icons, I would have liked them. So there, justice for the Jenga World Tour icons.
I'm done! You hear me?